How's it going, guys? Trey Clark here. Today, we're going to cover a lot of topics and that are going to branch out into a couple other podcasts that we're going to address these things in a little deeper detail. I've got Beth with me, who I talk to, obviously, a lot about things, and we're going to... she's going to come at this from... the way that you may be coming from it, because I can jump from subject to subject pretty fast. And what I want to do is talk about CERN. A lot of the crazy stuff that's happening at once that you can't deny is at least worth, seeing if somebody has done any research on it, which I have. CERN starting up on the same day as the eclipse is the same day that both sets of cicadas are coming out to the red heifers. Being sacrificed to start building the temple, and NASA and the APEP. What is that exactly? And all this stuff is happening on Monday, so I think it would be worthwhile. Normally, I would just kind of talk through it, but she is going to slow me down and ask some questions, and keep me from getting away from myself. So stay tuned here, and hopefully this is helpful, and I'd like to hear your comments, and make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. Right back.
Hey everybody, I am here. I'm joining Trey today on his podcast, and I am here to pick his brain and basically trying to wrangle in his ADD so that we can get to some topics and connect them, and get more information, because like you probably, when I first met Trey, I was very unaware. The veil had not been lifted, but now it is. The more I talk to Trey, the more I learn, the more insight he has, the questions I have. So my objective today is just to slow him down a little bit, pick his brain, if that's possible, and really trying to dig into some of these topics that are really timely right now. April 8th is coming up. TikTok, and we are, what are we doing? When is it happening? We know when it's happening. What are we doing? Why is it happening? And trying to put things all together. So I'm here to try and help us navigate so we can hear Trey give us a bunch of good insight. So why don't we just get started?
Okay. Where do you want to start?
Let's start first of all, what? Let's start with the what. So what are we going to talk about? What is so important, and what are we doing?
Okay, so I kind of got turned into a certain direction when I started training dogs, and I realized the instincts that animals have as I worked with them and lived with them. Mm-hmm. And I even noticed it in myself, becoming more in tune to certain things that I wasn't before. And they have to do with vibrational frequencies. And now cymatics is actually a term that most people, or many people, are familiar with.
Okay, what's cymatics?
Cymatics is just basically the ability for sound vibrations or frequencies to form patterns. Okay. And they can affect matter. And if you can look up, I don't know if it's Nigel something, I can't remember. But there's all this stuff online. If you would just look it up, look up cymatics, and different frequencies make these complex patterns. And
visually, like
you can put sand on a speaker, and it will make geometrically sound patterns with the sand. In other words, it'll make cross stitching or circles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you've seen a lot of that stuff. We've even done some of it here.
Yeah. And
so my thoughts are, well, if we're made of matter, then frequencies affect us. Mm-hmm. And one thing is, everything that we're going to talk about is attached, hopefully biblically, is going to be biblically sound. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that if we pay attention to the frequencies, and this isn't a new age deal, this is, you just go to Gabriel's horn bringing walls down, and the way that that we can't explain how objects were moved during building of the pyramids and stuff like that.
Right.
There's obviously some knowledge that's out there that we're not privy to for whatever reason.
Right.
And so, but animals can operate under these frequencies without judgment. So they're not like, there's no, if it's dissonance, it's just dissonance. They don't wrap guilt into it and have to work through it. Or, you know what I mean?
So they are hearing these sounds, like dogs hear high pitched noises, right? Like their ranges are different.
Well, they're experiencing them, and so are we, whether we hear them or not. They're there. So it's you can arrange matter on a speaker. You can dump sound or salt on a speaker and arrange it at frequencies that you can't hear. So I've got a video up with water where you put water droplets up and it starts to split into basically the same types of the way you would split up the arms of a snowflake, stuff like that, and it is like a crystallized form, and we're made of water, and so these frequencies affect us.
Yeah.
And I think that there are powers that be that understand and have done a lot of research on this stuff and keep us busy doing algebra, and learning about stuff, keeping us in a classroom rather than doing experiments on what does a frequency do to water, out of the music classroom and stuff like that, because I deal with frequencies so much with speakers and music, and just things have to be in tune. Dissonance really affects my ear a lot. It can almost be nauseating.
Yeah, I want to dive into that a little bit more too with your music background. So you are number one guitarist in Houston.
In the world. But not in my band.
But it's not in your band. Well, no, I mean, you do have, you're very, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Very accomplished musician. Okay. So let's say that you have a very good ear. So you've been doing it for a very long time. So your experience leads you to a lot more observations than the average bear.
I always thought it was very interesting that you don't have to know much about music to know the difference between a major and a minor chord. Okay, that it can affect you emotionally. A song sung in minor, and you don't have to say it's in minor. You may have never even heard the term major chord or minor chord and put it towards what you're listening to, but it can affect you emotionally. So that's a very basic thing. You play something in a minor chord in a song that has nothing but minor chords, or is at least rooted in minor keys, minor triads, then you're going to walk away with a somber feeling, and then you can change the tempo and change things to nothing but major chords, and it's upbeat, and you feel good, and it's happy, and it's and then you can mix them up, and that's what a good song does. You're going to kind of go in and out of things, and this is with basic 4 chords can do that. They can take you in and out of and that's without any dissonance. That's just a minor chord and major chords and singing whatever you do with them as far as you're singing. And if that's powerful. I mean, music is one of the most powerful things that we have. So as I learn to try and create a sound or create a feeling with a song that I'm writing, it's just weird that I can just drop one note a half step down in a chord, and it goes from happy to sad. Right. Well, how powerful is that with me in a room with a guitar, and you have versus, years of research with people that want to weaponize everything from, hand cream to subliminal messaging on advertising and stuff like that. Music is certainly a powerful tool because it's just a certain part of the frequency.
So the frequency and the vibration, whether you hear it or not, it affects you. And so, and not only does it affect you, it affects your mood and your emotions, which then leads to affecting your thoughts and then your actions, and which gets us into some sticky situations.
Well, more than that, it can affect the way that your cellular structures fit together. It can affect your health.
Absolutely.
It can affect your ability to produce hormones and chemical production in your brains, and that's fact.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the effect of frequency and vibration on the body would be a really good podcast for us to do sometime.
And there's a lot of research being done on it. There are people that are curing cancer with it. There, I don't want to get to talking to where like I've verified that stuff, but it's certainly structured in a way that you pay attention to it. And if you can move sand into circles and X's and squares just by changing the frequency, why wouldn't you be able to form a cube? If you had more ability to produce these frequencies and more knowledge, that was shared from the past. I believe that, there's things being kept from us. There certainly is today with our government is being kept from us, just for our own good, maybe, or for power for the people that want to stay in power, so we don't have it. But as I was working with animals, it dawned on me that that it's if you believe that it's the vibrational frequencies, which our eyes and our ears only see and hear a small sliver of things that are around us. In the forward to the book, the never-ending forward talks about how, like right now, we can look at the TV screen and see something that is wirelessly sent to it, but Game of Thrones is sitting in this room right now. So is Alex Jones is in this room with us, floating around in the air. It's just what frequency are we tuned into? And with those frequencies, we need either radio or, some kind of receiver. And so we're all kind of built to receive whatever keeps us alive. And a dog, their hearing and smell is going to be very important to their survival. Okay, more so than eyesight. Where cats, birds need to be real in tune with the electrostatic frequencies, the magnetic world, so they know when the seasons are shifting and they know when to migrate and where to go to. Which way is north is not, there are people that can't find north, with a compass, and birds just naturally know to go there. And that has to do with them being receivers of that kind of information, where we build things to receive things to where we can convert them to our eyesight and things like that and our hearing.
Right.
And so, but also if you look at it like bees can observe UV rays.
Right.
And that we observe them too. We can say it's not there because we can't see it or feel it immediately, but you will be sunburned very quickly or even blinded if you don't acknowledge that UV rays are very, very, very real.
Right.
And bees can see them just like we can see a laser light show.
Right. So we all have different spectrums and an ability to interpret and see the different spectra. For sound and for sight and for, the light and all that. And then I wanted to say that, so vibrational frequencies, so that's really the main thing that we're talking about, but it's the dimensional versus vibrational frequency. And I think that's kind of where we are, where I want to jump to kick off what we're talking about here is, what are we hearing right now? What are we being taught? What are we being exposed to?
Well, first of all, the narrative is be afraid of everything. So fear is the biggest tool that you can control a lot of people with.
Yeah. Right.
So just start there. What would be the motive of that? Of course, same thing. It's always been power. And the need to take God's place or do his work. And in other words, control men, which I've always said the only sin greater than trying to control other men is and have them answer to you, is we're supposed to answer to God, is to let someone do it to you. So so there the inherent truth in all mankind since Genesis coming on to today has been that we have this need, if we let things get to a certain place, that we want to play God and we want his power, and that's where the Tower of Babel, Jacob's Ladder, Nimrod, in the early days, to come and take God's seat and rule over the creation that we didn't create.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes into this, we tried to take his place in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
This is where a lot of the drugs come in and stuff like that, and a lot of the ritualistic, Moloch, just a lot of that stuff.
Right.
Where we're trying to gain power that he has. It all starts with the Garden of Eden. We want the knowledge. And I look at it in that we're still doing it today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with launching rockets up into the firmament and trying to, control the atmosphere. And build our and this will tie into the current events, but why nothing has changed. Nothing is any different now. It's just different technology. We are trying to control the heavens. We're trying to launch into space. We're trying to take control over other planets when we haven't even gotten our own stuff together here. We are trying to rule over people here, not doing a very good job of it. I don't know if you've looked around. So it's just an inherent fault that we have, and I think it is the inherent fault that we want to control the future, stay alive forever, and all that kind of stuff. And we're told very specifically to avoid these kinds of endeavors.
Right. I mean, because that's why. I mean, that's the why. Why? We were trying to take over God's seat. Why? Why is all this happening? Why is this important right now? And let's go into and talk about the actions, which you just talked about. What are the things that are happening? Why? We know why it's happening because we want to take over God's seat. So what are the things that are happening to try and do that?
Okay, so if you notice, we don't look down too much. We don't look into the oceans very often.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking up because that's where God's throne is.
Yes.
Okay. The waters that are within our realm are ours to control. We can do that. We can fish our waters. We can kill things and pollute it. We can make it great. We can, improve everything. We can even navigate. We can use it for irrigation. But when you get up into the heavens, if you look at, all the weird sightings from when they launched SpaceX, until you realize that there is a firmament, which it specifically says over and over again in just the first words in the Bible, there is a firmament, and that is where the firmament is the heavens, which if you imagine a dome, whether it's a frequency related deal that you can that you can get through or not, that's where everyone's trying to get through since the beginning of time.
Right.
The beginning of mankind after the original sin.
And why? They want to take God's seat.
That's correct. The same reason that the story goes that Lucifer was cast out. He wanted the credit and adoration that God commands of us. And so but the place is probably, if I had to guess, a pretty difficult thing to run. As we look at stars now, we know that they're not what NASA gave to textbooks and stuff. I can look at them through my own camera and see that these are, there's water between my lens and whatever source of light is there. And you don't have to look very hard at it to go, this is a vibrational. There's a lot of them look like speakers. A lot of them even look like they can take the shapes of certain things. But if you were to look through like like water through a window or something like that, you just look at it and it's changing, and those are vibrationals. And a lot of us think that those are in place, like speakers would be in place to control the matter of the world.
Right.
So to get up there may be a control center up there that somebody knows about that we don't, and they want in there so that they can have their shot at controlling this world the way that they do. And I think it has to do with the fact that they're just bad people and don't want to die. Because if I was a bad person to the point where I wanted the wars to happen and stuff like that,
right,
I wouldn't want to die either. I'd want to control what happens to the matter. I wouldn't want to meet my maker unless it was on my terms. And that's pretty much what I think is happening here. So that's the motive control the earth, and you can live forever and never have to face judgment. And I think some of them are even so crazily deranged that they think they're going to win this war against God, which is nobody really believes that. Even the worst of the worst. Everybody knows how this ends. All you can do is prolong getting in trouble when Dad comes home.
Right. So let's follow along that now. So what's going on in the world right now? And we've got April 8th coming up on Monday, 4/8/2024. Okay, so 4/8, that's a 12. 24 is a 6. 12, 3, 6, 9. Okay, 9 is important to me, you know, right? My birthday is 9/9. So your birthday is 3/6/9. Well, 6/3/9.
Right.
And so it's pretty impressive if we talk about.
You think my credit score would be better?
Let's rearrange those numbers.
There's no correlation.
There's no correlation. I'll take a 639 credit score or 693.
3 divorces.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
3 children.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, that's right.
So anyway,
but
let's cut to break now.
But and cut. No, but what's really cool is right now it seems to be like a lot of things are coming to a head, and a lot of things are happening because what we just talked about, the why we're trying to take God's throne, or the bad people are trying to take God's throne, and they see, what do they see now? There's an opportunity.
Well, if you look up, and many of us know or believe that the night sky is a clock. It's a calendar. So our seasons can be told. I mean, we navigate by the night sky, by the stars. So the daytime sky tells the days, the nighttime sky tells the seasons.
Yeah.
And so it's like 2 parts of a calendar that you connect together. And they're about as predictable as anything you can get. So what a lot of people believe is that if you can change, there's some jargon that like Alex Jones might use, that, you know, we have interdimensional, you know, lizard people that are shapeshifters and all that stuff. And in a way,
that's really good.
In a way, it's true, but I think it's worded to be disruptive to your ability to figure out what the hell is going on. So when the first time I hear, we have reptilian shapeshifters that are out here to get your soul, and they're all this stuff, you find yourself going, shut up, I'm not paying attention, and you tune out right away. But if you sit there and go, okay, what is really being said here, and you could be paying attention, it could be purposeful, leading the opposition to say something so bizarre, you know, that you're just going to tune out, even if you're not someone that would normally do that. And I have done that with David Icke and stuff like that.
Like a purposeful distraction.
Yeah. In other words, instead of me going, pay attention to cuttlefish.
Yeah.
There's nothing they change the vibrations in their body, and that affects chemical reactions that can instantly change them into something that looks so different that you can't recognize them. Okay? They can turn transparent. They can turn into anything they want. So we know that. We can do it in a lab.
Sure.
So to say that the technology isn't there isn't true, even if we can't recreate it. So instead of leading with something like that, you say, if these, you know, stole ceiling, they're trying to get your children to drink their blood and all that, blah, 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 and just go on these rants, you can get confused, even though what he's saying, the frogs are gay, and the frogs are turning gay. But it then mix in a little Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
Then you're leading the opposition. And I don't claim to know that that's where he is or not, but just know that most lies have a lot of truth in them. And then, all right, so what's the motive? And it's to control everything
again,
and not die and meet your maker. And to at least to have control over when you have to atone for what you're doing here. And we all have an inherent knowledge of what we're doing. So what if you have this ability to just stop and forget the idea that there are no bad people.
Yeah.
Or that good people can't do bad things. Forget that.
Mm-hmm.
All we have to do is look around in our families. We can find out that's not true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and then go, all right, what's possible? Well, a lot more than what we are told, because we know that the military has technology that we're not told about. We're probably 10 to 20 years behind what's possible, and some things we'll never know about. And they keep us busy with lights in the sky, which are so easily proven to be just lasers that are focused on parts that they've carpeted the sky with aluminum stuff, and nobody wants to hear it. And I'm like, why is this so hard to understand? Because conspiracy theories, it used to be that a conspiracy would be that aliens are invading and might abduct us or overtake the earth. That you'd be put in a crazy cell not too long ago, or at least nobody would want to talk to you. Now, if you say that's not it, it's us. We're trying to manipulate these things through the same people that are trying to manipulate things since the beginning of mankind. And so why is that so crazy? It used to drive me up the wall. I quit worrying about the why. So what is really going on? So what you do is you go, what is the end goal? The end goal is to, if you just look at every event, like every war, every kind of step of the way, and you look at them as isolated events, the world just looks chaotic or whatever. But if you start connecting dots and you realize this was set up, because I knew something was going to happen when the pandemic happened. I did not see it as a pandemic. I knew that something was going to have to happen for Agenda 21, because they're still shooting the UN agenda.
United Nations Agenda 21, which was put into place
under no false pretenses
over a decade ago, right?
And I was like, they're not going to be able to just kick our doors in. We're America, but they could shut us down. And I didn't see that coming. But as soon as I did, I was like, that's how they do it. So but I did see something coming. So if you can kind of live in that world, like something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. And that's where we are right now. April 8th is going to happen.
And the dangerous thing that the Bible tells us to stay away from is predicting events, okay?
Right.
Because there are no more prophets. No one is going to know the time or day or the hour of when Christ comes back.
Right.
And it tells us that very specifically. So that's not the mincing of words, but it does tell us the seasons and the things to look forward to,
right?
So that we're ready. So so now we have some things that are lining up that are big events. And if you think about frequencies, one of the big events that's coming out is that the 2 versions of cicadas are getting ready to come out. What do? They make the most insanely recognizable noise that you could possibly dream up.
Right.
And
these insects that live underground, and that they've, cicadas are if you're from the South, you understand, you know what that's like.
They stay underground for years and years, and there's 2 different versions. One's for 14, and the other one, I can't remember. It's like
13, 8. And one's for 7 or 8. And then they're both coming out now at the same time. So it's like a perfect storm. So the cicadas are supposed to emerge on Monday, April 8th. Okay. So let's just talk about the dates and the specific things that are happening. And again, remembering that the cicadas come out and they emerge a frequency, and they in unison emerge with a heavy frequency. Yeah. So, and then we have the eclipse. The eclipse is also that day. Okay. So I think everything is kind of trying to revolve around the eclipse, and then people are trying to just attach things to it. So let's talk about that. What are the eclipse is the one thing that, the cicadas and the eclipse are both kind of 2 different ways of telling time. The fact that we know the cicadas are coming out on April 8th is the damnedest. I thought they would just come out in a season or whatever, but they will emerge, which lets me know why I'm so convinced that there's knowledge that we don't have. How do they know that? We were never taught that in school. That's pretty good information. But we do have the sky clock. We do know that, first of all, you can't hide the eclipse. Second of all, it's going to traverse the entire United States. I think this is going to be the 10th eclipse, if I'm not mistaken. And
and that it's a unique eclipse, and I could get into why, but they're all timely, and they have to do with Passover, wars, and all these things. And I'm not going to predict that it has anything to do with judgment, but some people do, and it's kind of like the 72 virgins. I don't believe you get to kill apostates and get rewarded, but you better worry about people that do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so CERN, what I think they're doing is so going back to what I don't want us to kid ourselves about is the jargon we use. CERN is claiming to want to find this God particle and all this stuff in the name of science to find, the origins of planets and stars and all this stuff. Yet they have all this, mythological stuff going on. If you've seen the the opening day at CERN, you and I watched that,
Yeah.
and it's like, what the fuck?
Dude.
And you've got, Shiva, the goddess of destruction, doing the dance in a porthole that is out front. And they say it was a gift to us from the Hindus, and it's like, well,
The Hindu statue.
it's one of their gods, and it's like, okay, who are we dealing with here? Scientists that are trying to get to the bottom of stuff, or people that get on the salt plains and recreate these flying goat people with wings, in a tunnel, trying to find a God particle. Whatever it is they find is going to have a frequency attached to it, electrostatic charge, whether it's positive or negative. What they may be doing is trying to time it on a day that, if the eclipse is not just the sun in front of the moon, it is at a time where the Tower of Babel stories come into play, where the timing is right for there to be like a breach into the heavens. That's kind of the whole thing that I think that why everything's happening at once, to like bombard the heavens,
Okay.
So we've got a couple minutes where it's going across the United States, about 4 minutes, to where and also the OPEP, which is the serpent of destruction, and NASA it's not hard to see the serpent's tongue on every single one of their
Exactly.
deals.
And so, what is OPEP? What is
Well, right now it's the rockets they're launching up into the sky to what they say is to observe the eclipse.
Okay.
They're launching into the sky. Well, we've seen what happens when you launch real rockets into the sky. They hit the firmament, and it looks like a motorboat going across the water. And I've got a video that I can post a link to on this. But so all these things are happening at once, which means someone's working really hard. I mean, things don't all happen on one day. A lot of these things are decisions that are being made according to major incidents on a clock. Okay, the cicadas and the eclipse are going to happen with or without decisions we make. So what they may be doing is they may have some knowledge, the bad guys.
CERN and NASA.
CERN, NASA, the World Economic Forum, there might be some banking things going on.
Okay. Yeah.
They may shut down the internet, all these things.
Okay.
To change, I mean, who knows what they've been doing is they've been carpeting the skies with HARP and involved and and being able to, they've been up to a lot of stuff that we've just been, said it's conspiracies. And it's like, well, but they're admitting that that's exactly what they've been doing. And then
chemtrails.
Yeah. Well, chemtrails, they're just littering the atmosphere with things that react to things from here. And that, I mean, that ties into the alien invasion, when you litter the sky with aluminum and boron and all this kind of stuff, and bromite, I think, and then you start aiming lasers at them from 7 different directions. You can create points of light and do whatever you want. That's why things can just scatter out of the atmosphere. And I think they probably have some knowledge, and that if they instill fear in in all of us that there's a pretty powerful oneness. Not to get too metaphysical about it, but if everyone's afraid of dying in a room, you can tell. If you walk in, you don't have to start interviewing people. If, on an elevator where everyone's going down, the tension, the air gets pretty thick. So if you create a world of that, then you have a lot of control because everyone's too preoccupied. And then the thing is, the good guys, they don't come together like the bad guys do because they don't have to, because evil's going to win. Or sorry, they have to have evil win. We know that the good guys are going to win. So we're not going to come together. We go about our days. We are enjoying, our lives and stuff like that.
Right.
They're afraid of death, which most good people, just to an extent, not to the point where we're going to avoid it at all costs, or to hurt mankind, or to do something great, or become godlike, to avoid death. It's just something most people deal with, and that's a huge thing. That all this AI stuff. It's only worth fearing if you're one of the bad guys, because why are they trying to do all this stuff that's supposed to scare us if it's not supposed to happen anyway? You know what I mean? If it was a natural chain of events, then we should be afraid of it, but it's having to be manipulated by mankind.
Exactly.
So we've got this April 8th. Now, I want to keep in mind that eclipses are usually just a sign of things to come, not something that happens during an eclipse. And we are told very specifically, I want to reiterate, not to focus on trying to predict what is going to happen, or especially the coming of Christ.
Right.
We are not prophets. All we can do is pay attention to the seasons, and they're just reminders that we have work to do here.
Yeah.
The Bible, to me, because they spend a lot more time talking about the second coming than they do the first coming of Christ.
Oh, yeah. I think it's like 8-1 or something like that.
Yeah. So and I don't want to get stuck on this topic too much, but I have had this idea, I've talked about this, that possibly the great deception has been that we're 1,000 years off. Okay. And 1,000 years is basically, some people think is the rapture, how long that takes. And I just thought it was interesting, and I'll kind of start to close out with this. What better deception would there be? They can't take your stuff. They can't just kill you. That doesn't hurt God. Okay. And it doesn't work, but they can trick us. The trickery in letting God watch us be deceived when all the answers are in front of us.
Right.
And the fact that you don't need to worry about being deceived if you live your life in a way that is fundamentally sound, and knowing that you're adored and already sacrificed for by Jesus Christ. So you really can't go wrong with that, but God damn it, we find a way to do it, and it's like, in every direction. And it's like, it is that simple. It truly is that simple. Don't worry about it. I don't care about the eclipse. I care about it in that it's interesting, and maybe guessing right is more fun than being ignorant. But I'm not worried about a demon spirit coming out of the CERN's, vibrational, suck hole or whatever. What I mean? So far, all CERN's done is just change the words to Forrest Gump and Star Wars,
Oh my gosh.
Field of Dreams. And, and so that what you're seeing is the work of people that need things to happen. We already have everything we need, and that's the lie. That's the part where we need to stay focused on. It is interesting, and it is worth knowing where your enemies are. It is worth not getting buffooned by people with no. I see you getting the Bible out. You're gonna read. What are you reading there?
Well, I just wanted to. We can interject this wherever you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
But this is, we're talking about, the takeaway from this is you're saying is do not worry.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Is this Matthew?
This is Matthew. This is my passage.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, this is my passage. Okay. So this is Matthew 6, 25. And I'm going to read from there. Therefore, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? So why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And yet I say to you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Now if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith? Therefore do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first his kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble.
Exactly. And that's really, with all the stuff talking about all these supernatural, metaphysical ideas of things that might happen, that's really what I want anyone to take away from this. So, and if you look at Luke 21:18, it tells us that we do have things to think about coming up, okay? I'm trying to pull it up. I want to say it. Luke 21. Pull up Luke 21:18.
Yep. I'm doing it right now. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
Yeah, it's in the New Testament.
Yeah. Luke 21. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Luke 21:18. But not a hair of your head shall be lost.
Keep reading.
By your patience possess your souls. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation is near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let those who are in the midst of there depart, and let not those who are in country enter her. For these are the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days, for there will be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people, and they will fall by the edge of the sword and be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem will be trampled by Gentiles until times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. And there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars, and on the earth distress of nations, which perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. Then he spoke to them a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they are already budding, you see and know for yourselves that summer is now near. So you also, when you see these things happening, know that the kingdom of God is near.
This is exactly what I'm talking about not knowing the hour, but he tells us the season of what's to come. Now, are we supposed to ask these questions? And there's Proverbs 25:2, which gives us the answer there, as this is turning into a Bible class.
I love it.
Is that it's the honor of kings to search out a matter. It's the glory of God to conceal it. So what he's saying is you need to be looking at all times, because it sharpens your intellectual sword or your spiritual sword, and you're going to find answers. But I've learned that just look. Don't think you know what you're looking for, and all too often we look for things that we have assumed God is going to give us the answer that we're comfortable with, lest we be, or else we're not going to be satisfied. So it's just this kind of like, that's part of the release and the faith and all that kind of stuff. The idea, it's like, just do what you're supposed to do. A lot of times I use this analogy in a restaurant. When I was washing dishes, don't worry about the marketing strategy. It doesn't matter if we don't have clean dishes, and right. I do believe that as the veil lifts, we are given the honor to seek out more matters.
Yes.
And the desire to, as long as we're doing it in the right way. If we're trying to seek out matters of how to control mankind, which is what all this stuff is about, and to war and to control God's children, you want to lock up God's children in 15-minute cities and all this stuff instead of and tell us who to worship and to say there's that the government is going to be, the answer to our salvation, that Dr. Fauci is going to be who delivers us a shot that gives us life.
Right.
No, and it is an abomination, period. And as we stand by, and all this stuff is taking place where you don't have to look around too far to just know things are fucked. But they're as they're supposed to be. It's what do we do? It is part of the journey. This is told it's going to happen. Jerusalem will be trampled over.
Yes.
And you can already see it. Candace Owens is saying things like Christ is king, and they're saying that's anti-Semitic. So, and I grew up thinking that Jews and Christians were pretty much, at least in America, it's been, we're kind of side by, we're in Israel, we're on the side of Israel at all times.
Absolutely.
And now to hear, people that I respect and watch and listen to what they say, to say that Christ is king is anti-Semitic, and it is not right to say it, and you can get fired over it, is enough to sit there and go, pay attention. It doesn't make me scared. It's like, okay, that's a moment,
right,
that pay attention to, and don't make more of it than it is. It's just, that's who things are going, just as they say they're going to be in the Bible. And it doesn't mean that the end of the world is coming. But I do want to get back to what I was saying about the stealing of the time. Okay. Yes. And I want to just say it real fast. In the days of when they were making maps, to say AD, when they would date the map, they would use an I, an iota, a lowercase I with a dot over it.
Which is the smallest. Iota means small and tiny. Greek, the smallest Greek letter.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So just throwing that in there.
And J is the second.
Yes.
Okay. The lowercase j.
That's correct.
And so what the idea is, and this is just speculation, that if there is going to be a deception, that if the rapture's already happened, how would you get these souls, which is what the devil wants? Satan wants the souls, man. That's how he hates God so much. All you can do is hurt him. He's never going to get any joy. And I don't want to get too much into that, but he can hurt, because I do believe he hurts.
Yeah.
Whenever he loses one of us to the other side. And to do that, well, trick us into thinking the rapture hasn't happened yet.
Exactly.
So these eyes in front of, if you have a 9, after death 906 would look like lowercase I with a 906. That would be the date. So what if that I turns into a 1, where they're removing these maps, and some of them are the exact same map made, obviously at the exact same time. Some have a 1 and some have an I, and they're all over the place.
And they're very similar shaped.
Oh, some of them are the exact same
almost
print.
Indiscernible. And so when we talk about dotting our I's and
also the names of cities that would have changed over 1,000 years.
Right.
Are not changed. They're the same, things like that. So that 1906, there's a big difference. If that 1,000 years has come, what would happen? Maybe we're running around going, well, once the rapture comes, we got 1,000 years to get our shit together.
Right.
So for now, we'll just dress up boys like girls and cut our private parts off and act like we know better than anyone and try and break into the firmament. And so for the great deceiver to deceive us, and then God comes back and he's like, no, I already came back when I was resurrected.
That's right.
Okay. You've had your 1,000 years, and that 1,000 years is now come to pass.
Yeah.
So, and then you get caught with your pants down in a way that you wouldn't want to do it. That would be an interesting way to deceive, be the best way ever.
With
to
time.
let us think that we know that we have time before the rapture happens. And it's not hard to convince me that we are the ones left behind in the hellish, with the pain, that was promised to be during this 1,000 years.
Right.
While the idea is that you're not lost during that time. You're kind of in Hades, or in limbo as a Christian, and you can bring people with you. You can still be saved and all that stuff, but it is possible that we've been deceived and the rapture's already happened, and this is what's left behind. And if there's information out there that we're going to come across that they don't want us to have, they need that population to go down. And if not, and if he's coming back, what do the cicadas or the insects and the reptiles do? They don't build.
No, they don't.
They go underground. And what are they doing now? They're building all these. They're building all these structures underground. Underground
cities and bunkers with Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Oh, I mean, they're everywhere. And I mean, military bases, underground and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that too. You don't do that when you're fine. If you're winning the war, you don't go underground. And one place I will not do is go underground. And I will stay up here and face whatever it is. And it is a peaceful place once I got to a point where it's like, I don't have to worry about this stuff. I'm interested in it. Yeah. And we are told to be interested in it because it pleases God. He loves the back and forth in your relationship with him because he'll challenge you. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to know everything he knows at the expense of mankind or even your own salvation. He wants us to engage in a way that is good.
It's curious, right? Like, we're curious, but we're not demanding answers.
This conversation between you and me is pleasing to him. I do truly believe that, because we're trying to find out. If you just start with what does he want us to know?
Yeah.
Well, we know what he doesn't want us to know is how the hell to get on the other side of the firmament. Right. He doesn't want us to know everything knowledgeable through the apple, Right. He doesn't want us to know how to rule over men perfectly.
Right.
And so if you just kind of stay with that, you can stay within the lines, but you also don't want to get blindsided by the bad guys and going, and so now we got 700 years of slavery and stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting though that we're paying attention and that we do see these things happening. And like you said, that the timing is just, it's a clock. It's not anything that we're beholden to, but it's just something for us to pay attention to.
The clock doesn't wag the dog, but it is still time to be hungry.
It's time to be hungry.
The dog knows when that bell rings.
Right. But it's a nice balance. And I like that we're, the idea that, and you're doing this for me, you've done this for me. So here's kind of my little testimonial is that when I met Trey, I was veiled, I would say. Like, my eyes I was shrouded. I was living in a world that was, I was in the fashion world and I was doing stuff. And there's just a lot of things that just really aren't what we want. But I got to be, the positive thing is that I've just become more aware. And I'm looking and I'm seeing things and I'm really excited because it's true. Christ is King and he's with us. And I'm sorry if I went off a little bit, but
no. Be careful. You might get fired off the podcast. Shapiro find his way to you.
It's okay. But no, Trey's got to. I think Trey, we should do more podcast and maybe dive in a little bit deeper, because there's some more details too on some of these topics that we were talking about that I'd really like to learn more about, because I know that you know more about the things like Tesla and the numbers and the the math.
Well, one thing that I've learned, and I'm still learning, is there's a balance between trying to get answers out of that stuff to know what the bad guys are up to, which is really all you're trying to do.
That's all we need to do, right?
But you can waste a lot of time, and God's been waiting to play fetch with you, and enjoy hearing you sing and watch you play with your children and each other. And you spend all this time, worrying about not having the answers. And that's kind of, that's where the deceit comes in. And then when he comes back, if you haven't developed a relationship with him and understood why we're here and why we're supposed to get home, and he's not here we're not here for judgment, but it is part of it. But the judgment isn't for the people who want to know him. And, we get caught up into how the atheist arguments of how could a just God hurt children and all this stuff. It's like, it's none of our business. If you're not afraid of death, what are you afraid of? And that's the only thing they can scare me with. And I'm not afraid to die. And I've had several conversations. If someone threatens my life with your, if it ever got to something like that, say Christ is king again and Trey gets his head cut off, God damn it.
Then I
say hell no. Christ is king.
Then I yell it. Then I yell it in every language I know.
And I guarantee you, those conversations that we have, including this one, is pleasing. Okay, it is one of those things that gives you armor rather than fear. If you say, "What if I do that?" and then it doesn't work, it doesn't work like that. So that's where you want to spend a healthy amount of time being grateful for the stuff that isn't miserable, and we're not here to suffer. If you think everyone says God's, the reason he allows suffering, he could easily, if he's got that much power, he could make us be burning alive at all times. If he got pleasure out of that.
Exactly.
And, I've had plenty of hardships recently, and so have you, that they weren't void of joy, and all this stuff here is not, it's here and it's real and it's worth paying attention to.
Yeah.
And yeah, when your governments are coming together to lock you down or threaten you to inject you with certain things, and you're worried about being the mark of the beast. One thing is with that, you can't accidentally take the mark of the beast. So if you can't accidentally say that. You can't accidentally do it. You're going to know you are doing it.
They have to tell you, right? They have to tell you.
I don't know if it works like that, but you will know. You'll be inspired with knowledge. So, but with the Eclipse and CERN, whatever they're up to, the bad guys don't win, and they know that.
Exactly.
All they can do is just stretch time out and get as many souls as they can before the good guys win. Just don't let them be yours.
There you go.
All right. Well, anything else you want to?
Man, Trey, no, I think this is good. I think let's go have a little siesta, and I can absorb all this. But I'd like to come back to you in the near future, if that's okay.
Well, let's. I want to get together pretty soon and talk about a couple of these things more in depth. To where we hit every topic I wanted to hit on.
Yeah.
And just remember, the end of the world, if it happens on April 8th, it's not because anyone predicted it.
No.
And I believe God could change his mind if he wanted to, just to shut us up,
Absolutely.
So just be on the right side.
Be on the right side. And do we want to hear from our sponsor before we take off?
We do. And our sponsor is, oddly enough, yours truly. And what I do is I play a Martin guitar, and what I also use Martin strings. I play a Telecaster guitar, and I also use Ernie Ball power slinkies, okay? And the reason I use these are because they produce the best tone, best playability, and long-lasting playability before they start to rust and all that kind of stuff. And your tone and everything. I like to use the heavier gauge stuff, but they're a little harder on your fingers. So if I've been laying off the guitars, I've never changed brands or anything like that. So I want everyone to, if you're going to invest in restringing your guitar, make sure you go to Martin Strings and Ernie Ball Power Slinkies. So, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you, Trey.
Only leave when I'm home. I only stay when I'm gone. I only ride to get thrown. I only tread not to sing. And I can't move when I'm bound by the weight of this town. But I got these wheels in the ground. I'm not sand, but I'm sound. I only smoke when I drink. I only smoke when I drink. I only drink when it hurts. It only hurts every day. Every day it gets worse. Worse is being alone. At least alone I can think. Thinking's best for the smoke. I only smoke when I drink. I can't run when I'm tired. I can't sleep when I'm wired. I can't work, I got fired. And I can't dream while I think. And I can't move when I'm bound by the weight of this town. I got these wheels in the ground. I'm not sand, but I'm sound. I only smoke when I drink. I only smoke when I drink. I only drink when it hurts. It only hurts every day. And every day it gets worse. The worst is being alone. At least alone I can think. Thinking's best for the smoke. I only smoke when I drink. If I can smile at this sadness, but method the madness, then maybe I won't have to think. Stop riding these fences, what only makes sense is that I only smoke when I drink. I only smoke when I drink. I only drink when it hurts. It only hurts every day. And every day it gets worse. Worse is being alone. At least alone I can think. Thinking's best for the smoke. I only smoke when I drink. Think I might have a smoke.